Hey, what's going on, everyone? So today we're talking about 5 things that everyone can gain from moving abroad. So if you're new to the channel here, my name is Felipe. I'm an engineer based in Helsinki, Finland. I'm originally from New York and I moved to Finland 3 years ago to study at Aalto University. I enrolled in a master's program to study water and environmental engineering. And 2 years after that, I graduated. I found a job, found a girlfriend, moved in together, and just doing my life here. And although I was half Finnish and I visited the country a bit, I found that it was a really rewarding experience. I know that moving abroad is not necessarily for everyone and not everyone is interested in it, but I think since you clicked on this video, you're at least somewhat interested. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. The first thing I think that everyone can gain is a true test of character. And what I mean by that is that when moving to a new country, you're going to have to move into a new place. You're gonna have to set up your phone bill. You're gonna have to take care of all these things, and you're not gonna have your family there to help you out, and you're most likely not gonna have friends in the very beginning to help you out either. It might feel overwhelming and it's gonna be very challenging, but I think what most people find is that, wow, I can actually do all these things by myself. Funny thing, what happened to me when I first moved to Finland, as soon as I got the key to my apartment, I went to go check it out and I thought it was gonna be a furnished student apartment, at least my room. I opened the door and there was nothing in there. And I was just like, damn, I really gotta go get all the furniture right now. And on top of that, I walked out the room, I closed the door, and then I was like, oh, I forgot the key inside, let me go get it. And then I realized that the doors lock automatically here in Finland. So first day I get into my apartment, I'm locked out and I have no furniture and things are going real great. But again, I had no other choice but to figure it out. And yeah, at the time my ex was with me, so I stayed at her place. And then the next day I went shopping for all the things that I needed and we made it work. But yeah, it's exactly these challenges that you're gonna be facing. You don't know exactly what they are, but you know that you will face some challenges. And you start to realize how independent you really are and how much you're capable of actually handling. And that leads me to the second thing I think that everyone can gain, which is freedom. And what I mean by freedom is that whenever you move to a new country, you have a complete fresh start. When you're making friends, no one's gonna know what embarrassing thing you did in middle school or who you dated in high school. So you kind of have this freedom to reinvent yourself and be whoever you feel like being in that particular moment. Me particularly, I didn't really reinvent myself too much, but I still had that type of freedom if I really wanted to, and I acknowledged it, and I really saw that, hey, if I want to try these new hobbies, it's not going to be weird to anybody because no one knows who I am. Yeah, and I think that was a really cool thing. I think a lot of people, when they're living in their home country and they never really move abroad, there's a tendency to kind of stay home and live with your parents for a while. It just makes a lot of sense financially. I know I also did that for 2 years after I graduated from the University of Buffalo. I went home to kind of set myself up financially so I could be at least somewhat independent. And yeah, I think if I would have stayed there in New York, I probably would have stayed there for a couple more years. But moving abroad really pushed me out and I was living on my own. And yeah, that gave me a lot more freedom to, just do whatever I wanted. And I didn't really have anyone kind of looking over me. And this brings us to the third thing that I think everyone can gain, which is adventure. There are going to be so many new things for you to experience when you move abroad. I mean, think about it. You're going to be in a new culture. You're going to hear a new language constantly. You're going to be trying new foods. You're going to have an opportunity to travel around that country. For example, if you live in North America and now you're living in a country in Europe, it's much easier to travel within Europe. So you'll get to explore even more cultures around there. Now that I've been living in Finland for 3 years, I've had the chance to explore Norway, Sweden, Estonia. I went to go ski in the Alps in Austria. Now I'm going to Italy this summer. I've been to Croatia last summer. I had a chance to go to Kenya for a school project with Aalto University where we worked with 6 different rural water utilities. And just all these opportunities start opening up when you really put yourself out there, and especially moving to a new country. Even within that country where you're living, you're gonna have to make new routines, make new friends. It's just gonna be all really exciting stuff. And this is not to say that there might not be times where you're feeling maybe a bit lonely or a bit lost, like, okay, what am I doing? But I think that's part of the journey and the adventure, which ultimately leads to growth. You're gonna be meeting new people in a new country that have a different lifestyle than you, different values. They might be used to a certain way of living that makes you think about your own way of living back home. And you start to think, is that really the way that I wanna live? You start challenging the status quo a little bit or questioning it. Like, is this for me? And I think that's the beautiful thing. When you move abroad, you're really immersed in a new way of life. And I think that brings a lot of richness to someone because it allows the opportunity to reflect and think about, okay, I really like the way they do this. And I think I could bring that back home, but I'm not too crazy about this other thing. I would never continue doing that. But it's this process of absorbing and reflecting and thinking, okay, like, how do I want to create my life? What kind of life do I want to live? And I don't think you can really get that unless we really start to explore different ways of life. Personally, for me, when I moved to Finland, I felt that I had slowed down my lifestyle a bit. Like, I started to be maybe a bit more present, maybe out in nature more. I would do a lot more camping here and riding my bike and things like that. And I really started to appreciate that type of lifestyle. And I think that if I move back to New York, I definitely want to have a good bike with me so I can maybe bike to work instead of driving and take more time off and be out in nature and maybe visit the national parks there. And also my ideas of how society should work. I think that the fact that Finland has a really good social welfare system really creates this safety here. Many people feel it when they come here and things just seem to work. These are the things that I've kind of taken with me. There's also things that I'm not too fond of, like I think Finns are maybe a bit more shy and reserved and maybe not so easy to open up to or vice versa. And I really appreciate back home that, it's very easy just to talk to a stranger and it's like not a big deal. And also I think that maybe Finnish people aren't necessarily as driven as people from New York. I think New Yorkers have this like can-do attitude, whatever they want to do, they're just gonna like keep trying. And I love that. It's this activity and reflection of picking and choosing what you really appreciate and creating your own life from it. So the final thing I think that everyone can gain from moving abroad is language. So for me, I barely spoke any Finnish when I moved to Finland. It was really broken and it was really tough to communicate with people in Finnish. I understood a lot because my mother always spoke to me in Finnish, but I would always respond to her in English. And I think that moving abroad is such a great opportunity to really immerse yourself in the language and a great opportunity to learn it. Because when you're hearing the language every day, you're hearing the way people speak, the way they're thinking, the way they say a certain phrase, and it's a richness for you because then you can communicate with more people, on a different level. If you're speaking to a Finn in English, it may be not the same as if you speak to them in Finnish. And I would say that that's probably the same if you're speaking to an Italian in English, it's probably not the same as you speaking to them in Italian. And yeah, so if you're thinking about learning a new language, that's definitely a great opportunity to really dive deep in the language and learn that skill. So those were 5 things that everyone can gain from moving abroad. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you feel motivated to move abroad.